What's the minimum amount of ammo you might need for an SHTF event? That's a question that I've actually been asked recently because people are trying to figure out what they need to spend right now thanks to the ammo shortage on ammunition, but still be able to have enough to feel good about it without breaking the bank. So let's talk about exactly how much ammunition you need in the sense of a bare minimum just to feel good about having a preparedness factor in any kind of an SHTF scenario. Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and today we're going to talk about what the minimum amount of ammo you should have on hand is in case there is an SHTF event. Of course, in the past I've had videos talking about how much ammo you need for SHTF or how much ammo is enough for SHTF, but right now we're in the middle of an ammo shortage and there's a lot of new gun owners out there on the landscape. And people are trying to figure out, look, I don't want to spend this crazy amount of money to have thousands and thousands of rounds of ammunition stashed away because right now it's extremely expensive thanks to the ammo shortage. But I still want to feel prepared and I don't want to just have no ammo at all. So what is that bare minimum amount that someone can get away with? Well, let's figure it out. Let's talk about exactly what that should be and my philosophy on what I think that amount could probably be for somebody. And if you're preparing for SHTF and you're dealing with the ammo shortage the same way as we all are, then hit the subscribe button below because, these are things that we can work on together and try to get through while we're dealing with this whole situation where ammunition is ridiculously expensive. It doesn't seem to be as vacant as it used to be, but it's still extremely pricey and most of us are being priced out of being able to acquire more of it. So let's talk about it. The first thing you want to do and the first thing you want to kind of think about when it comes to the minimum amount of ammunition you should have on hand, like the bare minimum so that we can save some money right now but still protect ourselves if need be, is what's your magazine requirement? What magazines are you loading for what platform? How many rounds does each magazine hold? And what's the minimum amount of magazines you should have in order to feel prepared for a situation, okay? Well, let's talk about that. So for me, a basic loadout, bare minimum loadout, in my opinion, should have at least 6 magazines, okay? And the reasoning behind that is just kind of based on the way I set up my loadout, where 6 magazines gets me every pouch loaded and the firearm loaded as well, okay? So as you can see right here, I've got an AK-47 sitting on the table, magazine is already inserted, and I also have part of my loadout here as well. So go ahead and move this so you can see. We've got the magazine right here, so that's one magazine you might need, right? Of course, all right. Drop that. Okay, we're good. Then we have the other magazine. So we have 2 here on the belt part of the loadout. So 1, 2, so we have 3 total right now, okay? And then for the actual plate carrier itself, which is heavier than it looks, we've got 3 here in the front. Now these pouches are universal pouches, which is why I chose them for many reasons, but each one will hold one 30-round AK-47 magazine, no problem at all. So there's your 4, 5, and 6 right there. So just based on loadout, 6 magazines should do the trick of at least loading the firearm and filling the loadout in the sense of 2 on your belt and 3 on your carrier. Now everybody's loadout might be different, but for me and for the philosophy I put together in the sense of what I might need to carry on me, 6 seems to be the magic number, and it seems to be a good number in general just because of the way it rounds out with the amount of ammunition you're gonna have. So how does 6 magazines work when it comes to that loadout? Well, AK-47 standard capacity magazines, 30 rounds. Standard capacity AR-15 magazine, also 30 rounds. So, of course, there's going to be variants of all kinds out there, but let's talk about just what's most prevalent and what's going to be most common, okay? So with 30 rounds and 6 magazines, and each box going to having about 20 rounds in it, how do we figure that out? Well, 30 rounds per magazine, you have 6, that's 180 rounds. So for me, what I'm thinking, and my philosophy of the bare minimum, like the least amount of ammo you can buy and still feel prepared, is going to be 6 full magazines at 180 and at least 1 box of backup so that you can either do a little bit of training or so you can have a way to reload one of those magazines if you ever find yourself having to use one and you don't have half a magazine and that's all you can do about it at that point. So what's that equal? In total, 200 rounds, okay? So 200 rounds of ammo for your primary firearm platform when it comes to a rifle like an AR-15 or an AK-47 will get you 6 loaded magazines and 1 backup box. And right here is 200 rounds of 7.62x39. This is the Wolf Military Classic. And even right now to this day, thank God for my local gun store, I'm still getting these for $9.99 a box at 20. Which is not too bad. There's a daily limit, but still 10 bucks a box right now isn't the worst thing that's ever happened before. So 200 rounds right here, ready to go. And the same with your AR-15. That's gonna be 200 rounds to get 6 fully loaded mags and another 20 as a backup. That's my philosophy for bare minimum. And now if you're gonna talk about things like an M1A or a SCAR or an AR-10, the standard capacity on those seems to be about 20 rounds. Of course, on the AR-10, you can get up to 25 round mag pulls now. But if we just talk about the 20 round mags, like what I have right here for the M1A, that's 20 rounds times 6 is 120, and 1 extra box of 308 at 20 rounds is gonna be 140 rounds. So if you're running a 308 of some kind in the sense of a SCAR, an M1A, or an AR-10, maybe 140 rounds is your bare minimum. Now, 308 gets you a lot more bang for your buck than 5.56 and even 7.62x39. But that being said, 140 rounds of it's still not cheap. So 140 rounds gets you 6 fully loaded mags, 1 backup box, okay? Moving on from there. What about shotguns, okay? What about a shotgun? Isn't that something that we should talk about? Well, yeah, of course. So on shotguns, often we're gonna be, at least when it comes to commonality of firearms, talking about magazine tubes, okay? And we're gonna be talking about 5 rounds or 8 rounds a lot of times, especially when you're talking Mossberg 500s or Remington 870s. So my math on that is, let's just stick with 6, okay? 6 fully loaded mag tubes, okay? It's not something you're gonna be carrying on you in the same sense as magazines, but to be able to reload that tube-fed magazine situation up to 6 times, how many rounds does that require? Well, if you have a 5-round tube, that's going to be 30 rounds. And if you have a 8-round tube, that's going to be 48 rounds, or shells, of course. Okay, so what does that look like? Well, if you're going to have the 15-round box of double-aught buck, which used to be pretty common anyway, you're going to need 2 of these for 6 tubes of 5 rounds each. And then 1 of these as a backup gives you 45 shells, okay? I keep saying rounds, shells, we're good here. You know what I'm talking about. Either way, 45 shells gets you 6 fully loaded magazine tubes, and it gets you 1 more box. Or if you have an 8-round tube, then you're gonna be talking about 63 shells, but you don't get boxes in odd numbers. You can get 5, you can get 15, you can get more, but let's say just for the ease of math, you're gonna do 65 because you can get 4 of these, it gives you 60, and then 1 of these, and these are actually slugs, which will get you 5 more, so 65. So depending on your magazine tube capacity, that's how I would decide that number. So you're either gonna go 45 if you have a 5-round tube, or you're gonna go 65 if you have an 8-round tube. But either way, you're gonna have 6 full reloads of that shotgun, okay? Just my philosophy. Let's keep going with it, all right? How about your handgun? A lot of new gun owners bought a handgun. They have a semi-automatic pistol, a modern striker-fired polymer, all the good stuff. What do those usually have? Well, I suggest, and most people seem to agree, that a compact seems to be the best compromise of size versus capability. So those magazines, especially if we're talking 9mm, let's just say on average are 15 rounds, okay? Yes, of course, they go up to 17, 33. If you're running a 45, it might only be 10 rounds. There's a lot of variations, but for the ease of the concept, to give you an idea, regardless of what caliber you carry, this is gonna be the same idea, okay? So 150 rounds of 9mm should do the job. Why is that? Well, 6 15-round magazines is gonna be 90 rounds, and this has 100. But you still want 1 more box for backup. So that's gonna be another 50, which gives you 150 total. So even though you're gonna get 6 magazines with only 90 rounds or only 2 of these boxes, and then you're gonna have 60 left over, still having the backup box means another 50, as long as you're buying 50-round boxes of full metal jackets. Now, if we're gonna talk about self-defense loads and stuff, those come in 20 to 25-round boxes, and that's a whole different story. But either way, generally, especially right now, this is gonna be your best bet. And seriously, these are going for like $50 right now, okay? When I bought this, it was probably $10.99. Now they're $50, $1 a round. So 3 boxes is still maybe $150 right now for 9mm. But if you want to be prepared and feel like you have at least enough to get through a SHTF scenario and have 6 fully loaded magazines with some backup ammo, that's what it is right now. I know, it's crazy, but that's just where we are, okay? So, last on the list is going to be 22, and 22s come in all different varieties. They come with tube-fed 22s, they have magazines, they have single shots, they have bolt actions. It's all over the place. 22s are awesome. You can't go wrong. So with 22s, all I'm saying is just grab at least one of these like 500 or 525 or 550 round boxes of 22. If you can find one of these right now, they are way too expensive compared to what they used to be, but this will do the trick. If you have a Ruger 1022, maybe you have like a Heritage Rough Rider or something like that, this will do the trick. You're good to go. This ammo will fire and make it happen, and you'll have lots of it. And just buy the one box and be done with it for right now. Geez, it's expensive, I know. But we're dealing with an ammo shortage, and we still want to be prepared, and there's a lot of new gun owners. But like, what is that bare minimum? Well, that's what I think the bare minimum is across these different platforms. And if you want to go as far as talking about like revolvers, let's say it's a 6-shot revolver, you want 5, 6 reloads, right? So 36 rounds, and then you need an extra box. Well, depending on what type of ammunition you're buying, it probably comes in a 50-round box, which gives you your 6 reloads, and then you have another 50-round box as a backup, so 100 rounds, and that gets you your enough bare minimum SHTF ammunition to defend yourself with and have a little extra just in case, okay? So hopefully that helps, because this ammo shortage is out of control. The prices are ridiculous, okay? But we still need to be prepared, and if you're new and you just bought guns for the first time, you can't just not buy ammo because it's too expensive right now, but you definitely shouldn't buy a ton of it. You should be buying what you need, and right now what you need is the bare minimum to be able to take care of yourself if something ever happens. And of course, you need to get training. You need to go out and actually do some shooting and test and function test and everything else you need to do to make sure that firearm works properly. But it is hard to do right now and expensive in the sense of how much ammo costs. So just keep that in mind. This is just my opinion on bare minimum amount of ammunition per firearm that you have for SHTF scenarios. Even though it's really expensive right now, if I had a brand new AR-15 and I didn't have any ammo for it, I would not feel prepared with just one box of 20 rounds if that's all I could find. I'm sorry, I just wouldn't. But I would feel okay, at least okay, with 200 rounds that I know I could load 6 magazines up with and have at least one box still waiting, okay? So that's what I wanted to talk about, just to give you guys some ideas and to help some of you, especially the new gun owners out there, save some money and not go crazy right now buying thousands of rounds of ammunition when it's really, really expensive. And hopefully that gives you a goal to shoot for. So you're not just buying it and buying it and buying it. Maybe you know, okay, if I can get to that 200 round mark, I can just chill for a little bit, load up 6 mags, be ready to rock with that one extra box, maybe even go to the range and shoot 10 to 20 rounds and not feel too bad about it. And then be good to go and wait till the prices come down or the availability comes back and keep stocking up, okay? So, just wanted to bring that to your attention. Hopefully it helps you out. If you have anything else to say or add to what I had to say here in the video, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. Like, share, help the channel, all those things. I mean, that's just what we need to do these days, especially now that we have a lot of new things happening in the world. Things aren't getting put out there as easily as they used to, or at least it seems that way. So, if you have anything else for me at all, comment below. Besides that, that's going to be it for Magic Prep.